Right. Hey everyone, welcome back to the data pack. So the next feature to talk about is going to be the affinity weapons, right? So basically the custom weapons of the data pack. They're very similar in essence to the spell system that we talked about last time. So for instance, right now we have a fishing rod, but it has upgrade, trigger effects by sprinting, and nether affinity. We also have a netherite sword, which has trigger effects by sneaking, same affinity, and then a bow that has teleport 2 arrows on hit, but ender affinity. So just like the magic system, the main way you upgrade these weapons revolves around these hearts of affinities, right? So think of them as the 12 different element types or, specialties that you can apply to a weapon to transform them into these custom items. But let's go over the effects first, right? Because that's the good stuff. So, the bow, since that sounds quite interesting, right? What does it do? Well, nice and simple. Wherever we shoot, we get teleported too. So if you're quick enough, you could do a bow into a swing, right? It's fairly nifty, or a bow into one of these abilities even. So for instance, on the fishing rod again, was trigger effects by sprinting. So if we actually sprint through, let's see if I can do it correctly. We can, right? We did a little bit of contact damage and we set a trail of fire. Let's try again, right? Sprint. We do a little dash, although you have to actually dash through them. There we go. Do a little bit of damage and leave a little spot of fire. So some of them are a bit more simplistic, right? But still would have their utility, especially because you can mix and match, in a sense, right? You have two hands, so for instance, if we have the sword and the fishing rod, we're still able to gain the sprint effect, right? And then we're also able to gain the shift effect, which is on the sword. Now, the shift effect is a AoE. Now, how to explain this, right? Because I want to make them a little bit interesting, right? And not just a, instant ability or something super strong. So the way they actually work is they have a minor ability when you first use it and tag an entity. So for instance, if we shift here, right, we tag him, he gets set on fire, and that's it, just a minor explosion. But if we were to actually shift near him again, as long as he doesn't die, oh, perfect, I can do this properly, right? If we shift again, no, the tag wore off. One shift. Let's see if we can get it. 2 shifts. There we go, right? So it did a larger AoE of fire. And the way that works is basically the first time you activate one of the affinity abilities, regardless of, weapon or type, it will basically tag the entity. And then if you hit them again, it will trigger a much bigger effect. Now, the two that we're showing off are very useful in essence, right? Because we have trigger effects by sprinting and trigger effects by sneaking. Now, if we were to craft something else, for instance, right, we'll grab out a axe, will do, right? And then we'll keep with the fire aspect before we go through them all. So grab out the fire hearts. And then if we grab out a sharpness book, right, come over to our shulk forge, which is the crafting structure for all this. We drop all 3 items into the center, right? So it gets crafted, and we get ourselves a netherite axe. Now with nether affinity, but chance on attack to trigger, right? So these are guaranteed effects whenever you sprint or sneak with a minor cooldown, internal cooldown. And then this is only a chance to effect, right? So its effect, while stronger, is not a guarantee, right? It's only a chance on hit, depending again, of course, on your luck, right? We gonna get it anytime? Nope. Yeah, so if we have a lot more luck, effects give us luck. We'll go infinite, we'll go 99 true, so max luck, basically, right? It should trigger every time we hit something. And fire might not have been the best one to show off, but yeah. Sizable effect, right? Decent damage too. But that's the basis, right? Again, minor effect, and then the second time it triggers larger effects. Sprinting and sneaking are guaranteed effects, while as everything else is a chance. Now, if we actually go to the advancements, we can see this outlined a little bit better, right? So we have enchantment, Swift Sneak. So again, the enchantment book that uses the base is going to determine how the effect is triggered. The heart is going to then dictate what effect is triggered. And of course, weapon type as well as enchantment section, right? Utility effects, range effects, and melee effects. So for instance, Swift Sneak, triggered when sneaking. Soul Speed, triggered when sprinting. And then all the melee effects, right? So for instance, Sharpness was on hits. We have Smite, which is when you defeat a mob. We have Thorns, when you take damage. Protection, which is when you block, right? And you have to block perfectly to guarantee its effects. But if you just block... basically, if you've ever played an RPG, right? Or a hack and slash game, a parry system. I've introduced a parry system if you perfectly time blocks, which was quite fun to figure out, and maybe we'll go over that. But impaling is then when you defeat a player, so that's more PvP orientated, right? Which is just a higher chance to basically trigger the effect for defeating players, and also generally a much bigger effect because, you know, players are a bit harder to come across than a whole section of mobs. But yeah, so similar to the spellcrafting system, right? There is 5, 9, 11 enchantment books, and then there are 12 Hearts of Affinity. Again, all triggering different effects depending on which one you utilize. So, you know, again, it being Nether, mainly fire effects, but for instance on the bow we have Ender Affinity, which, to be honest, I don't actually know. But since we have max luck now, we should be able to see. What did it do? I still can't tell. Oh, don't shoot the end crystal. Also, should be noted, right, since we finished up the mob, there's nothing to teleport to, so we didn't actually teleport. But I think that is the basis out of the way. Why don't we just grab out all of them and we'll show them off, right? There's 11 by 12, so that's perfect, right? We've already done fire, so I will do one on each of these books. Right, inventory all set up. Let's get to crafting. So, how to do this? Book, right? So mace, heart, and enchantment book. And that gets us a mace, right? With a unique trim. Very slow to hit, right? Because it's a mace. We do the same with the trident. Perfect. Now, tridents, unfortunately, right? Effects work. Look isn't quite available. I don't know if they're going to extend the new model function, right? Where you can actually assign models and use that, right? In the next update. 1.22, is it? 1.23? Whatever the next minor update is. If they do, I'll use that. If they don't, then I will probably just use custom models, and they might look a little bit goofy in hand, right? Because obviously the in-hand model is a proper model instead because of the throw animation, which I would love to be able to customize, and I was really hoping for it, but currently not able. But yeah, so it does have the affinity effect, although it doesn't have, you know, a nice cool look to it. So we're done with those two, and then we can move on to the bows. There's number 1. Make sure I don't toss the same heart. 2. And also that I don't run out of experience. Ah! Oops. That was the one I was not meant to do. I'm sure it'll work out fine. There's the bows done. We can toss out those 3 hearts. In fact, why does it seem like I have less hearts than I do enchantment books? What one did I miss? And lucky last. But I did miss one. I missed the enchanted heart. Oh well. Right, we have our custom weapons. Again, all with some nice models, except for the trident. So, what do we have? We'll go over the ranged effects first, right? So we have a bow with stock standard arrows, right? If you basically don't want any of these 3 effects. And then the 3 effects, we have teleport to arrow on hits. We have multi-shot, which should work with multi-shot to be even more multi-shot, right? I did make this before multi-shot was applicable to bows in the sense of there's ways to, you know, cheat it in now. And then guided arrows, which is a bit interesting as well. Time set day, but again, we will get out our trusty husks and let's show some stuff off, right? Pop a few down since we have some AoE. We have the fire bow first. Cool. Although, looks like arrow effects are broken. That's unfortunate. But the affinity effects still work, if that makes sense. And I destroyed the forge. Oh well. Right, so it's still teleporting. This should still do multi-shot then. Yeah. Shoots out a whole array of arrows. 5, in fact. And then lastly, guided. Although our friends are gone. Should also put this one on a bow. But if we have them all, right, we're going to shoot over there. It will automatically home in on the closest entity. Yeah, makes it quite nice. Guaranteed hits. Probably abusable in PvP, right? So we'll have to see about that one. There we go. Bow's done. And then we have trigger by sneaking and, of course, trigger by sprinting. So again, sneak is always just a ground pound, just with different effects. So for instance, this one is a chomping, right? And then sprinting with gold should just be a lot of damage, right? Because you're all weighty. If you, again, you have to time it right. Yeah, I think the entity has to be right in front of you. I check at the step rather than at where you end up with the teleport. Yeah. Alright, and then we have the 5 different melee combat, would you call it? Right, so chance of defeating players. That was one I couldn't craft, actually. I shouldn't have crafted. But then we have chance on block, and then we have chance on taking damage, right? So we'll leave them aside, but then defeat mobs and attack to trigger. So we have Earth, or Overworld, right? Which should, you know, zombies bad, should be doing poison. If we grab out a villager, we can definitely show that one off a little bit better. Poisoned? Yeah, there we go. And then chance on defeating mob to trigger. Well, it might take a few hits. Shouldn't have put this on the pickaxe. There we go. Right, does a little snowburst AoE since it's the glacial affinity, and gives absorption and resistance, because that's quite nice. Then we have chance on block and taking damage. I really do want to show off the shield, because I had a lot of fun making sure I could time the blocks correctly. We'll get rid of you. Don't worry about the totem. I'm sure I'll get to them at 1.2. But we will spawn a husk, and we will go over to survival and see how well we can do this. Come on. Yeah. Right, so this is lightning strike on block. Because we have max luck, it will trigger every time. But if we didn't, you'd have to, again, throw up the shield right as they're attacking. And there is a way to test for that. Though I had to get creative with scoreboards and advancements. But nonetheless, right, so you can perfect block, and that will guarantee the effect regardless of what luck you have. So we'll go back to, you know what, we still have taking damage too, don't we? Yeah. Alright, we'll do that. I don't need that effect anymore. You still stuck in a block? You are still stuck in a block. Alright, come at me. So if we have this sword, we get a little splash effect, which gives you some distance. Careful though, it will obviously break things. I thought it gave absorption or healing, but I guess not. I guess it's just the water bubble. So, right, again, it'll push your enemies away and most likely push you the other direction too. So just a way to gain some distance. But there we go. That is the basis of the Affinity weapons and their models, right? Now, we still do have the custom enchanting system to go over as well. But nonetheless, we'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.